Gabz FM, powered to engage your world. 7:45 this morning. We are joined by Bradley Fortune. I hope I said it right. Can I like flexing your any mic? Just grab any mic. I like flexing your last name. He's a consultant program officer at the Southern African Litigation Centre. That's SALC, focused on equality and LGBTQI plus program developments across Southern Africa. Bradley is a well-known LGBTQI, LGBTIQ plus.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I gotta do it right. And then he's also joining us also in the studio as Laone van Vuren. He's the head of policy and legal advisor. Rico LEGABIBO. What up, man?
Hello.
Did I see you this past week?
Did you or did you not?
I think I did. I think I did.
I saw
The question is, did I? Sorry, Bradley. I hope you're not feeling left out.
I totally am. I'm like, where was my invite, y'all?
Yo, man, you know, we had good conversations and great interactions at His Excellency Wako, the UK, as residents, as we were celebrating King Charles III's birthday party.
I think I saw the pictures.
Guys, welcome to Gabz FM. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
It is Pride Month. The month of June is commemorated as Pride Month. Kindly please take us through this month and what it means to you, any of you. We'll start with you, Brett.
Okay. Morning to everyone. So Pride Month basically is a global celebration of LGBTIQ pride.
Yeah.
I think we look back at where we've come from as queer people, what we're currently facing, because there's a lot of challenges that we're facing currently. But also at the same time, there's so many gains that have been made towards advancing LGBTIQ rights, equal rights, and also the rights of everyone else. So that is what we are celebrating, but also it's also an opportunity to reflect and to re-strategize and see how we can reconnect also with everyone else.
Now, what does this month mean to you?
What it means to me, on a personal level, like a bit of what Bradley said, it's a moment to reflect on the wins. It's a moment to reflect on the wins, but also, I guess, from an institutional standpoint, to also pause and think about what still needs to be done going forward, particularly the advocacy that still needs to be done for legislative change, and much more, I think, even at societal level, what needs to be done to continue to make moves and change within society.
What is the status right now, Brads? Where are we right now for what you are fighting for?
Where are we right now? I think right now we are at a crossroads, right? We're at a very pivotal point where rights are under threat. But just like to backtrack a little bit, we know there's been so many gains that have been made. Well, not so many, quite a few actually, with regards to equality rights, inclusion of LGBTIQ people. We've seen the Employment Act Botswana being amended. I think there was in 2010, LEGABIBO's registration case happened, which really affirmed the rights to freedom of association for everyone. And this was not just about LGBTIQ people, but for everyone, right? So this is the right to register, to organize as communities. There were gains made, small steps in this regard with in reference to legal gender recognition. So if you are a trans identifying person and you want to change your gender marker, the courts have made a judgment. This was in 2017, but also have advised the government to also have an administrative process in place to ensure that transgender, gender diverse people don't have to go to court to get a court order for them to change their gender marker, because we know this process is very expensive. To get a lawyer it's a lot, right? And the daily experiences of trans people, I mean, it's hard to even get employment. So how are you even going to afford a lawyer, right? The decriminalization case happened. I think that was a really, really big step for us. I think just to briefly talk about that, for us, the case really was not just about LGBTIQ people, same-sex consensual relations, but it was really about affirming the rights to humanity, the rights to privacy, to dignity, to protection of and recognition even, all these liberties that LGBTIQ people and everyone else, right? And I think the beautiful thing about the way that LEGABIBO or SALC has been doing our advocacy is not just solely focusing on LGBTIQ people, but also seeing how our wins can also help advance the rights of other groups that are left in the margins.
Now, you talk decriminalization case, and I want to find out from you, do you see a difference since then and now, and what do we need to do more?
I mean, I think we're slowly warming up to it, right? Right after the case, there was a study done, I think, by the Afrobarometer, which had revealed that there's an increasing number of Botswana who are warming up to LGBTIQ issues. And this was a very, very big step. However, I think last year there was I don't know what the former government did, but they wanted to reintroduce the bill for it to be debated, which caused a whole lot of public outcry, right? There was marches led by the
Evangelical Fellowship,
the EFB, also by the former MP, Nono Mulife. He was one of those people that was leading all this marches. I'm actually pretty grateful he didn't win, because we would have seen reintroduction of regressive laws and all. But we've seen that happen, and this really caused an outcry for us as SALC. We had remained, and our standpoint was there is no need to debate this issue because the courts have made their decision. It would really just be for Parliament to be undermining the independence of the judiciary.
Now, how have the 2019 and 2021 rulings impacted the lives of the LGBTQ plus individuals in Botswana?
I would say from where we are standing, firstly, it's an affirmation. It's been an affirmation of people's rights, even honestly, just the right to exist, because firstly, then it immediately said people's identities were not criminal. So that was the 2019 ruling, which was affirmed by the Court of Appeal in 2021. And it has allowed people to express themselves, whether this means even through with the protection of the Employment Act, which protects against discrimination based on sexual identity. Some people were not completely comfortable, for example, occupying space in a place of work where they are fully themselves and express themselves thusly. But because of those rulings, people have been able to do so. People have been able to demand and access healthcare that is affirming for them, whether this means safe-sex commodities for particular minorities, say men who have sex with men, or women who have sex with women, or this is gender-affirming healthcare, like we just spoke about, the healthcare that is specific to the affirmation of trans-identifying persons. But still, like Bradley was saying, even as LEGABIBO, we also recognize that there are still steps that still need to be achieved. For example, particularly in reference to access for gender-affirming healthcare for trans-identifying persons, it is still an uphill battle to get that kind of access to healthcare. It's not healthcare that is accessible through the public healthcare system. In addition to having to go through a lengthy legal process, one also has to go through a medical process that includes a gender dysphoria diagnosis, which is currently only offered go Sabrana, which is a psychiatric hospital. And we know the stigma that surrounds psychiatric health. And even outside of the stigma, just even the general logistics. Even if the diagnosis was a day visit to the hospital, that psychiatric evaluation, what immediately, what does it say to the discriminants by in the room. So there are changes, but there's still a lot more that still needs to be done. We still do not have full access, for example, to marriage equality or to adoption, or even for people who are starting families and businesses together. There's no legal guarantee. If I'm with Thabo and we're together, and one of us, is incapacitated by ill health or they pass away, what happens to the property that we've gathered together?
Yeah. And let's talk about, you mentioned something about marriage equality. Do you think this will ever happen in Botswana where you will have the right to marry? And what would it take for us to get there?
I believe it will happen in Botswana. Honestly, because just looking back at even the achievements of that have been made through the past few decades with the decriminalization of same-sex conduct, even with the failed debate on the 2024 constitutional review, even in that there was a consideration of widening LGBTQI rights recognition. So for me, I think all of these things are things that will happen. The question is when. And I do believe, honestly, that the continued work that we do and the incremental gains, working through communities, when building up to policy and then legislative reform, eventually we'll get there.
We're also joined in studio by Memory Nkaile, Advocacy and Communications Officer Kako LEGABIBO. Hello, Memory. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I love your hair. Love your hair. Yeah. All right. Let's get into our conversation. Also, how can advocacy efforts be strengthened to reach rural and unreserved areas? You mentioned you have to take transport and get to Sabrana, for instance. It could be very challenging for you. How do we bridge this gap? I don't know who's going to take it. Maybe you, Memory?
Yes. One of the ways that we are currently working on bridging that gap is through community outreach activities. We currently have Beyond the Rainbow, which is an initiative where we to speak with community leaders, including the Khosi, Baruti. So I think that's one of the ways that if used maybe not just by LEGABIBO, because at the end of the day, right? But if we can find partnerships and I think that that's one of the ways that we can do it.
But you mentioned Baruti, and we all know where they stand.
Yes.
How's that gonna work?
Well, so far we have been able to work with a few Baruti. Okay. So I think.
It's not all of them.
No, obviously it's not all of them.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, I can read the content beliefs and stuff. So they're having a hard time adjusting, but the hope is that with more outreach activities, change the hearts and minds of a lot of religious leaders. But so far, we've been able to have a few reverends, pastors support us and stand with us in solidarity, which is a great thing.
Very interesting. I don't know if you want to chip in. How do we bridge that gap?
We've worked very closely with Botswana the Council of Churches. I think it's important to specifically point out a very close relationship that LEGABIBO has with Muruti Mampani, who has been
he's a champion.
Honestly, truly. And so through those kind of relationships that we have with Baruti, then we are able to penetrate communities and then work through because we also engage and we've had support, to be honest. And when we work through those leadership structures that exist within communities, then we're also able to reach Bazadi, who are also a pivotal stakeholder in the movement. The parents, the friends, what is also known as the PFLAG, with parents, friends, and allies of LGBTI persons. And it's important for us. We will always work through those inroads into the communities, because it's through that incremental work that we're able to achieve any change.
Listen, I've got so many questions we'll pick up on the other side, but one that you should think of is we've heard that this new government is a human rights administration. What role can the new human rights administration play in advancing the rights to LGBTQ+? We'll talk more on the other side with our guest. Triple D's on standby with news coming up.
Hansi. Power to engage your world is on 90.8 FM.
All right, it's Gabz FM, power to engage your world. You are on BHD with myself, Dollar Mac, rolling all the way until 9 a.m. this morning. We're continuing our conversation, and do remember, we are joined in studio from SALC, Bradley Fortune. He's a consultant programs officer at Southern African Litigation Centre that focuses on equality and LGBTIQ plus program development across Southern Africa. We welcome you back to the stew, Breads.
Thank you. I love how you always remix it every single time.
I'm a remixer. I'm a remixer. So LGBTIQ plus.
Yes.
Yeah, you saw that comedian that says, y'all just took all the letters.
We'll keep taking.
We're also joined by Laone van Vuren, head of policy and legal advocacy ko LEGABIBO. We welcome you back to Lau.
Thank you.
And then who else joins us? Memory is also in the house this morning. Memory, shout out to you. Memory is also from LEGABIBO. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure.
I know before we went for the break, Breads, please add to, I think you wanted to expand on something.
There's just a quick point on Lani, on what Lani made also about family, and as we're celebrating Pride, right? I think for us in our traditional setting, how we know family, it's not just mother, father, you know, it's our grandmothers, it's everyone else, it's our neighbors. It takes a village. And earlier on, I mentioned the whole threat that is facing us in the region, and this is the anti-rights movement. I think people are probably going to get sick and tired of me talking about it, but there's like a huge attack on human rights. It's not just LGBTIQ rights, it's women's rights, it's access to SRHR for women. It is an attack on the feminist movement, it is an attack on climate, and we've seen all of this happen over the past couple of months playing out also. And unfortunately, Africa is going to be holding like a series of anti-rights convenings across the continent, a lot of them taking place in Uganda, Kenya. We've seen last year some of our legislators go there actually to go and partake in these convenings. And a lot of the things that they preach and advise the legislators, policymakers to come back is to come in introduce regressive laws that infringe on the right of freedom of expression, of association, on equality rights, basically. And some of the things words that they use is protecting the African value, you know, and within the way that they define it, African family should only be a cis male, cis woman, married, that's it. You know, you can't have your grandmother, you can't be a single parent, you can't be that, you can't be that. And the way that they define it, it's like imported definitions that really does not fit into our community, into what we know as family. And I think as we're celebrating Pride, there's this thing that we need to hold on, our diversity in family. I think that's very, very important, because family grounds us, you know, our village grounds us. And a lot of the way that we do our advocacy, our strategy is rooted in Ubuntu, in Butho, in family, in that philosophy of togetherness and our diversity.
The new government, we did say we'll touch on it. It's said to be a human rights administration. What role should they play in advancing LGBTQ plus rights?
I think when the new government came in, everyone was excited, right? I mean, fun fact, before this decriminalization case, the very, very first decriminalization case that was filed, I think this was like in 2000 and so forth, the person who was going to argue it and filed it was actually the current president. So he was going to be that person that argued the case. But unfortunately, because of what happened then, the context, where society was not ready, we needed more evidence. We had to withdraw that case. So I think, that's a win for us. What I do also think is it's a great opportunity for the new government to engage with civil society organizations, not only LEGABIBO, but also civil society organizations, especially now that there's a lot of dwindling in funding, resources, and support towards civil society organizations, which also impacts the work that we do in rural communities, accessing people, our advocacy, right? I think, and I stand corrected also, there was I don't know if this was during the campaign year UDC where they said they'll give 1% of, I don't know if it was the GDP or some budget.
1% of the national budget.
Yeah, to civil society organizations to help in strengthening the capacity of CSOs. And that's a huge amount. And we really do need
Was this during campaigns?
This was during campaigns.
This was a promise that was made during campaigns, and it's actually a point that we have been trying to engage with the government to find out as civil society, not just as LEGABIBO, but as civil societies at large, to find out how far with that 1% that you promised us, because it is supposed to be 1% of the national government, of the national budget, and there's been a lot of questions around, but how will that be administrated, and how and when will we get access to it? And we're already
what are the answers
3 months into the national budget? No, we haven't gotten any responses. Every time we ask about that, it's, the thing is, we're still trying to set up how it's going to work.
I think there's an opportunity for CSOs, for activists, human rights defenders to engage with the government, bring everyone to the table, right? Which then brings me also to CSOs and how we need to be united, right? Because I think if we come to the office of the president as one, and different groups, not just LEGABIBO alone, but different groups from different backgrounds, I think that will show greater voice, greater impact, and have them listen to us. So I think we need to do that, bring them to the table. Going to court, we can't always be going to court. I think litigation should be like the last resort. Plus, we're all like litigated out, right? So I think you just need to push the government, hold them accountable, engage with them in an honest and transparent manner. Yeah.
I think to add on to what Bradley was saying, the other thing that the new administration can do is train public officials in SOGI, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression. Because even though Section 164 was decriminalized, we still face a lot of stigma from public officials. You go to a clinic and someone has no idea trans person how tao le kita kentsana ke apere suit ya borre o bitsa ba bangwe na meeting change ke gate mo spatela. So I think if public officials were trained, then lema police, because o khona tela go rangwa go report a case and then on in a second hand victimization. Koro o tswa go buliwa go strateng wa go report wa go buliwa gape gone go reportang teng. So if baka train you ba thaloganya gore how to handle such cases, I think that will go a long way.
What else do you guys still face? What else do you still have problems and challenges with in 2025?
I'll say decriminalization was the first step. Now we're fighting for inclusion, we're fighting for safety, we're fighting for legal protection. And so even, for example, with the Employment Act, which protects against decriminalization based on your sexual orientation. But this is protection once you've been recruited and now you're an employee. And there's no protection for, and I know I've said this before, we've set in rooms where people have admitted, like the example that Chloe was giving, where somebody, this person is a woman, they walk in and they're dressed in a particular way, and somebody walks in and they're not dressed as, in a gender specific way. They came into an interview panel. This happens a lot. It happens in a lot of places. So what kind of protections are there where, if we don't have that kind of protection even in our Employment Act, then where else do we find that kind of protection? What kind of protection is there when you go to a public health facility and you are turned away, or you're told, but you can't access testosterone? You have to come in with a gender dysphoria diagnosis from Sabran. So, this is all stuff that needs to happen. And if we're talking about now being in an era of a human rights-centered government, this government should also be conscious of the many ways that we face discriminalization, and the many ways that that minorities face discriminalization, and then how to make our government and the new Botswana inclusive. And this inclusion, it means recognizing our intersecting identities, and it's more than just you're a gay man, or you're a queer woman, or you're a trans person. But in addition to this, you face additional stigma and discrimination because of your identity, which hinders how you access healthcare, it hinders how you are able to find employment, it hinders access to public housing, and everything like education. There are people who have, for example, dropped out of school early because they were trans, and then their identity did not match what is on their omang. And then how constantly people have dropped out of school because of that. And then ABC, we're not a local school, Form 3.
Guys, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for stopping by. Before I let you guys go, final thoughts in a minute each. We'll start with Memory.
Well, I want to thank you so much for having us today. And I think let's learn to listen and to inform ourselves, because a lot of times misunderstandings and misconception come from not being informed. So like so that we can be able to understand each other and live harmoniously.
How are you celebrating, or how are you commemorating this month?
Yes, so we have a Pride March on the 28th of June, and everyone is welcome. You can get on our Facebook page or Instagram, and they tell you the details of the thing. And we encourage everyone to RSVP. But what support. And we also have a picnic this Saturday, and it's also open to everyone.
Yeah, where's the picnic again?
The picnic is by the LEGABIBO headquarters, more Block 6. And people can find other details on our social media platforms. Yes.
Brett?
I think my last words really is just one. I think let's not leave the rights of the minority into the hands of the majority, right? Because majority is never right. It's not always right. Sorry. And I think it's really just for the government to be inclusive. There are some policies that are there, if it's in the Health Act, if it's in the Police Act and so forth. It's really just for us then to also continue holding government accountable, doing follow-ups, reaching out, demanding protection, recognition, and so forth. Policies are there. I think it's really just to follow up with all of this. But besides that, I just want to wish everyone else all LGBTQI and our allies and everyone a happy Pride.
Thank you.
I think for me, it would be one. I think I want to start where you left off, Bradley. Start by wishing everybody a happy Pride Month, and also to add to close the activities that LEGABIBO has planned. We have a picnic, like you said, this weekend, and the next weekend on the 28th we have the Pride March, and because we're using that march also to combat period poverty. So we're encouraging everybody to come. we're also encouraging you to bring a pack of menstrual pads with you. We're collecting and we're going to donate to a school. And then in closing, firstly, to thank you, and can we just continue to engage? I think a lot of what we've said today, the need to continue to engage, engaging meaningfully. And for me, Bradley, which is a core value of us, really, not just Botswana, but really African. I think all our human rights issues are based on sometimes forgetting what Botho is, and where I am only gay. I am because you are. Honestly, I can help more.
Aka boela go mo tsamaisa tiro. So guys, happy Pride Month. We've got nothing but love for you and shout outs, and thank you so much for always setting aside some time to come and speak some sense on the radio. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, all right?
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Power to engage your world is on 94.1 FM.